Well, welcome back to another Workshop Wednesday. Dawn and I are so excited today because we're going to talk about something kind of fun, and that is employee incentives. A lot of times people don't know what to do for their employees to incentivize them. That's a hard word to say, or to motivate the team. And so we're going to kind of talk through that today. And it's such a fun topic. And there's some interesting things that we've learned, that I've learned in just researching this topic for today's session. So welcome, Dawn. Again, I love doing Workshop Wednesdays with you.
I know. It's so fun.
It is so fun because we're so similar. We're like
We
sisters.
are.
We're sisters from another mister. But a fun fact is my real life sister's name is Dawn. So I know one of these days you're probably going to get a crazy text from me because I'm texting my sister and your name pops up. So just in case. But
For
all
right.
right. Back to today's topic is employee incentives. Most business owners think that money is the only way to motivate employees, but there are actually a lot of different ways that you can do that. So before we talk about how to give them the money, how to incentivize them, we're going to talk about defining it. So why does your employee deserve a raise, a bonus, something special? So first, it's because you, as the business owner, have defined what the employees need to achieve. So it's very clear. They understand that there's something that needs to be achieved besides just coming to work every day, right? Secondly, clear and achievable goals for your employees. We here at HSRA, every Monday, we do a priority meeting, and we have our goals for the week that we're trying to meet. We're trying to achieve those. So what every Monday are you going into your alignment meeting? What goals are you taking away from your team? What systems do you have for rewards? What communication system are you giving to these employees about how they meet their goals? What encouragement are you giving them every day to reach their goals? So on Monday, you're like, oh, this is our goal for this week. We're going to hit this number. I think this morning they reported Model My Home had a 10K day yesterday. I know when I was in office, that was our daily goal, was to meet 10K. And so you might think like, well, how does a logistics person out on a truck help contribute to a 10K day? It's the way they drive. It's the conversations. It's the work that they're doing. It all matters because it's all tied together. Just because, maybe someone picked up the phone to answer about a staging bid, that doesn't mean that it's only just that sole person. It's a team effort. And then how are you celebrating their successes together? And then also, how can you adjust that so the whole team feels like they're winning? Or what adjustments can you make to highlight specific team members? So talking about employee incentives, you can do a team incentive, or you can do individual incentives. And so I know with a lot of our staging companies, a lot of them are the owners that wear every single hat, or they only have a very small team. So Dawn, you've kind of done all of it, which I love. I love that you're part of our team and that you can represent the person that wore all the hats and then the person that had the big team. And so let's talk through some ideas or how you decided to give incentives.
Sure. I think that hearing you talk this morning and then just now, it is true. In the alignment meeting, it's very important to set goals and to just communicate, right? We talked about that today, how important communication is. I think that team members, we need to remember this. Team members, along with ourselves, myself included, we want an identity. And then with that identity and with the meetings, then we get accountability. And then we get, how can we grow? So I think that with me being first, just working with myself, the incentive part was I would treat myself to a Starbucks every day.
That's right.
let's just, let's be raw for a minute. When it was just me, I treated myself to Starbucks every day. And let's be honest, I still do.
I didn't know in the comments, if you're watching this now or later, I want to know how you reward yourself if you're wearing all the hats. What is your reward? Is your reward just the fact that you have income coming in? Because let's be real, that could be it. Do you get a Starbucks? Do you take yourself out to dinner? Do you get your nails, hair, lashes, any of that done? I want to know. Okay, go on, Dawn.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll be curious to know too. I can't wait to see some comments. And then I think as I grew, again, when you have a small team, you don't have a big budget, right? But you still want them to feel important in the identity. You want them to own the identity that you've given them. And you also, when you gift them something, even when it's small, it's showing them that you see their ability to grow in the identity that you've given them. So, again, small team, small budget, not a lot. I would do things in the morning when I was on my way to get my own Starbucks. Every few, days, I would text my girl and I would say, "Hey, you know where I'm at. What do you want to drink this morning?" And then there were times she would come in and I would just have like one single rose on her desk with just a note that says, "You matter to me. You've done great this week. Thank you for all you've done." I mean, it did, again, it cost everything that I'm saying right now cost under $5. Like,
Yeah.
it goes a long way. Not only did it incentivize her to work harder for me that day and that week, we developed a closer, deeper relationship. And the loyalty, again, I'm going back to loyalty, it can exist. I know that sometimes we all have hiccups, but it can very much exist. And I think that when you show your employees that you're thinking of them and you do these things for them, then the return is there. So,
yeah, I love that. And I'm going to hit on a few key things. One, something that would be golden for you to do on your onboarding is find out what your staff's love language is. So, even if you have staff right now and you didn't do that on onboarding, make it like a team exercise. Everyone fill out this questionnaire. And I think they have the love languages for staff by now. I know they had the 5 love languages, and I think that's the name of the website, but they also have the 5 love languages for your children. And then I think they also did one for like your coworkers or whatever. I could be wrong, but they're like, I probably won't remember all of them. So you have acts of service, gifts, affirmations. That's a huge one. That's one of mine is affirmations. So anyway, there's 5. We'll figure them out. Donald probably looked them up. The 5 love languages. So important for you to, I don't want to say like love your employees and their love language, but it goes back to relationship. Everything we do in life is a relationship. New customers are a relationship. Current customers are a relationship. Employees are a relationship. Our spouses are a relationship. Our children, everything, the foundation of everything we do in life that moves us forward is built on relationships. So how do you build a relationship? Well, when relationships don't work, it's because the language between the two people are not happening in the way that it needs to happen. And 9 times out of 10, it's because because we're selfish people, first love people in our own love language, right? So if you have an employee and they keep doing something for you, if your love language is not gifts and they keep bringing you physical items and gifts, then 9 times out of 10, you will know, oh, this person loves gifts. I'm going to get them a gift card next time they do something that stands out. Or if they're constantly giving you praise, don't think that they're just, kissing your butt. That's probably not it. It's probably because words of affirmation is something that means a lot to them. So think about that going in. So if you haven't done it, you can even just ask in your weekly team meeting. All right, everyone, write down your 3 love languages and send them to me or whatever. That way you have it, because when you're building out your incentive program for each employee and having that in the employee file, could you imagine having in the employee file, Sally Stager loves words of affirmation is her first one. Acts of service is her second one, and gifts is her third. So buying her Starbucks would be great, but if words of affirmation is really what, she thrives on, then you telling her what a fantastic job she did rocking out that stage or that consult and how thankful, that is just going to fill her up. She's going to want to work harder, be more loyal. She's going to feel the value in the company, and she's going to see herself and her identity in the company because now you've just filled her up. So that was one. Find out your employees' love languages. That's huge. Two, never underestimate employees out there doing something nice for your boss. Now, again, it's not to get one leg up, but if you knew all the things a boss has to do, like, Dawn, how would you feel? I'm sure your employees did it before, but like if they were like, hey, Dawn, I'm at Starbucks right now. Can I get you something? You love to get Starbucks. You love to go get coffee. How does that make you feel as a boss?
It did. It happened a lot. And I think that it was, and again, one of my love language, it is gifts. I love to get gifts. And I love words of affirmation. So they in turn did that for me. And I think as we developed that relationship, again, to make any relationship work, you have to communicate, right? And so as we got closer and developed our friendship and relationship, then they would call me and say, hey, I'm at Starbucks. Do you want a coffee? Hey, I noticed you're in the office. You didn't grab lunch today. Do you want me to grab something on the way in? And it in turn there was just a humility there to that. Because again, I know I'm their boss and I am their friend, but there's that balance and there's those boundaries that we have to create. But it meant a lot to me as a boss. And it wasn't, I don't think I ever felt they did it to get a leg up or to get a raise I think they truly, and I still to this day believe it, I think that they did it and it was genuine. And it was a thank you. I know we've worked hard this week. We've had a rough week. A lot of times we did it when we had some really bad weeks or some really bad, something happened on a stage and we broke something or, we would just do those kinds of things to cheer us up and to just take a minute, step back and say, we're going to be okay. Tomorrow's a new day. We got it. But it meant a lot. So.
Yeah. And it's so incredible to me how far a little bit of transparency from the owner goes amongst employees, right? So I always felt like it's not okay to do like fear-based leadership. Like don't tell them like, hey, if we don't get a stage in this week, I'm shutting the doors down because then you're going to lose all your employees. They're going to like throw up some deuces and be like, I'm going to go find another job, right? But to say something like, oh my gosh, this was such a crazy week and bless them in some way for their hard work, even though they're doing what they're paid to do, you're actually depositing into their future of keeping them and keeping a solid employee. And so I know that I cannot for the life of me remember which member it is, one of our HSRE members, but they actually plan a food delivery or food. They have an Instacart order. So wherever they're going to be on whatever day of the week they do it, but once a week, they have food delivered to a stage where the logistics and the stagers are, and they actually have lunch together. They just stop and have lunch together, and then they get back on the road. And I honestly think that's probably pretty productive because one, come on, let's be honest. The logistic guys are so happy that they're getting their favorite sandwich. She gets all their orders in advance, right? They're just stoked that they don't have to think about where do I stop? Where do I put this big truck? What am I going to eat today? Or even, worse, having to pack a lunch, right? So they know that this is the day we're going to get our favorite sandwiches delivered. And then you're there to be able to have lunch with them, to break bread with them, and to just appreciate them in the middle of the day and to just say, keep going. You got this. Like, I'm proud of you. And then, everyone should know by then, I think it might've been Kim Dombrowski. I'm not sure, but everyone should know, like, then you get back to work, right? And so you're not out of your way. You're already at the place you're going. You're not making an extra stop. It's not extra gas money. It's just a little bit of effort goes a long way in these cases. So that's something that you definitely can do. Now, that brings me to a 2022 Google consumer survey that I brought up today that I found and asked, like, what are the top incentives that people like? Because you're probably saying to me, like, oh, I can't afford to give like hundreds of dollars or whatever. Well, the funny thing is the top 6 things that people want are not even money, even though they cost you, the business owner, a little bit of money. Number one, 63% of people polled wanted something to do with entertainment, attractions, or travel. So like I'm here in California. Maybe it's, to Disneyland or to California Adventure, like 2 tickets. Like that's saying like, hey, you could probably get group rates on the tickets. And those are just something you give out throughout the year. Restaurants. I do remember when we first started working there, Jana gave me and my husband a gift card to a restaurant. It was an Italian restaurant. I cannot remember for the life of me, but we still talk about how good the food was there. And that was 6 years ago that we got that. It was amazing. I don't know if you guys know the place in Texas, the Italian restaurant, and they always give you 2 helpings of everything, 1 to eat there and 1 to take home. I don't know who it is. Maybe Jana will know. We'll ask her. And then that was 54% loved gift cards to restaurants. How cool is that? Software, computers, or electronics. That's kind of a big one because those are a little expensive. But is that a write-off? I think it is. Subscriptions to Netflix or Spotify or Audible. We do Audible at Model My Home. We all have an Audible. If you don't have an Audible account, Jana has one for them. Apparel, health, and beauty is 28%, and office supplies are 20%. But I definitely could see, like, if it's personalized office supplies, if they got their own stapler, or I don't know what that would be, because I'm like, office supplies, what would I want? But if there's a special pen, because I'm left-handed and a lot of pens don't work for me, like, I would really appreciate that special pen just being bought just for me. I think that would be great. But so that was really weird that not a lot of people wanted money, and not everyone responds to money. I mean, yes, money's good. I like money, but to be encouraged for me for words of affirmation, that makes me feel like I've offered items of value or that I am valued in my position, right? That I'm not just doing it all and it's just hitting the wall and like bouncing back off. So what is yours? Yours is gifts. Is that your top one, Dawn?
My top one is gifts too. That was, and I find it funny that you say it, but not funny, because money, again, everybody loves to get money. But to me, if somebody handed me a $20 bill, yes, I would be grateful. Okay. That's determined. But if somebody in return handed me even a bouquet of flowers or 6 flowers they pulled from a wild field, for some reason, again, the transparency and there's a genuine feeling of, this is something, it took more effort. Does that make sense? Yeah, and I think that's what this is getting at. It's right. Effort.
Don't pick your neighbor's flowers on the way out. I like that you said in an open field. But I also, I'm not like a huge flower person. I had a phase where I would go buy fresh flowers for the house. But I do think there's something when they're picked specifically for you, right? Like even if, you see some outside or whatever, that's not in your neighbor's yard, please. But if somebody brought you a bunch of wildflowers, it's like, oh, I saw this. As long as they don't have like poison ivy in them, I think we're golden, right? So I'll make a picture of them have bugs on it. But I do think that goes a really long way. So as we wrap this up today, so we gave you some ideas of how to incentivize your staff and why to do it. What were some benchmarks? So we know the ones, it's kind of a given, like, oh, you did a really good job. That was a crazy client. That situation at the house was a little wonky. Thank you for, sticking in it. Thanks for working late, like whatever. But what are some benchmarks that maybe you've had your staff meet in order to incentivize them?
So we would sit down and we would discuss, especially with big design jobs. I would probably put luxury stages in the same thing. But again, as a new stager, don't discount a job, right? a job to you for just a new stager is just as big and just as important as a big design job once you're seasoned, or a luxury stage job, again, once you're seasoned. So please don't discount yourself from this conversation. Um, for me, as we grew and as my team grew, the benchmarks would be, again, communication, weekly meetings, and saying, this is our goals. This is what I want to do this week. And the girls, my team, not knowing in my head at the end of the week, I had already planned something for all of us. Whether it was we all went to a restaurant, we did that quite often. And we loved it because, again, it was just a time to take a step back, talk about our personal lives a little bit. How are your kids? How are your spouses? How are things going? Um, and it was more just setting the goals, and then with the goals came a reward, but the reward was never expected. We did have weeks where the reward didn't come, but it was more the words of affirmation, right? But then we had weeks where I would give a gift, or I would do something for the team as a whole, or for one specific person who really worked hard at a specific job. I have a design team here in Wichita. I love them. Their boss, who I adore, they just posted on social media. They did a big design job, and I loved that they put on social media that Jan, the owner and the boss, gave them all, the entire team, a day at the spa. The day after, I'm sorry, the design job took a whole week, but at the end of the week, they all got a day at the spa because they did. That's how big the job was. It wasn't a day job; it was a week job. But again, and this is the first time I've been following them for years. This is the first time I've seen it. So again, I don't think it's expected, but I think that it just really made me feel good for them because they felt it. They posted it. They felt loved. They felt affirmed, and they also felt like they did a good job, and there was pride in their job, and then there was pride in the reward. And so it was really, really, really cool to see.
That just spurred up an idea. I was like, who wants groceries, right, for a reward, right? But what if your stagers are working a lot of, extra hours? Maybe it's a gift card to Instacart or something. Like, hey, I know you probably don't have time to go get dinner. Dinner's on me. Like, that'd be a great example to say, hey, I appreciate you. Or, hey, I know you took extra time to get out to that property today. Here's a gas card. Like, literally, I do think, and very honestly, if an owner gives something on a regular basis, your staff is going to expect it, because we all have a certain level of entitlement to us. And so we don't want that, because it's better to know that you're working towards something, right? So I think definitely change it up sometimes. Have a couple of go-tos ready for your staff, knowing what they like. Again, that's going back to the communication on the onboarding, or during, maybe a team development day where you're just kind of asking and getting to know each other better. And I know, like, I remember working in corporate, and we would have one job we had this thing called Corporate Challenge. So I don't know how it happened, but some way in Las Vegas, when I lived there, somebody had this genius idea of all these big businesses would come together and we'd have like softball tournaments. I mean, like, just thinking of putting that together is a nightmare, right? And a lot of times we dread, like, oh man, I don't want to go, because the company would be like, who wants to sign up for softball? And, like, literally. But once you got there, you had fun, and you had fun with your coworkers. And then the next day you come in and you have something more in common than just working at this place, right? And it builds, again, relationship. Yep. And so what can you do that's maybe outside? I know when I worked for Citibank, it was like, oh man, I got to go to this company mixer. And 9 times out of 10, let me tell you that your employees who are dreading going, it's not because they don't think it's fun or don't appreciate it. It's because they're terrified to have conversations. They're either introverts, or they just don't know what to say, or they feel nervous about, they're like, I just want to be at work and I want to do whatever my work I got to do. And that's just it. But if you can kind of encourage them to come, have the conversation with them when you are out, if you're at a mixer or a happy hour or whatever, just so you can get to know, because I firmly believe that every successful business started because one business owner had a genius idea and was purposed for it and had an amazing staff to bring them to where they're at. In order to have amazing staff, you have to have amazing relationships, right? Some last, some don't. Sometimes you have great ones and they move on. It's bittersweet. Sometimes you're glad you got rid of them. You're like, hallelujah, I don't know why I hired that person. But the foundation is built on relationship. Relationships are built on communication, and knowing people's love languages helps you to make them feel more secure in what they do, which in return builds your company. So hopefully that was helpful today, talking through those things with you guys. And we definitely want to know, how do you incentivize yourself as the business owner? Are you going to the spa once a month? Because Lord knows you needs it. Or how are you incentivizing your staff members? Like, what are their KPIs, their key performance indicators? If someone brings in a sale for your company, do they get a bonus for it? How does that work? And the more you guys comment, the more you're helping out our industry. So we definitely want to hear from you. So any last minute things before we wrap up today, Dawn, that I didn't cover?
I did. Yeah, this was awesome. I think just remembering, again, the analogy queen. One last thought that I put in my notes is just remembering, as you build a team, my big and favorite analogy is the football team. You're the business owner, you're the quarterback, but you have to have a team to keep people from tackling you so you can make your touchdown.
Yes.
And so remember, that's the team you want. You want the team that's going to have your back, because then in the end, you're going to go and make that touchdown for them. So I just want people to remember that, that this is, you're on the road. And I can't wait to hear more comments and I'm meeting tons of people on this Facebook group and on our site. I mean, I'm loving it. So thank you to everybody.
You can put your name and questions in the comments and schedule a discovery call with Dawn. She is here to see you grow. HSRA, we exist to build businesses and leaders in the staging and design industry. So what does that mean? That means that we have a whole training center online with every single training module / course. Because to be honest, when I first started working here 6 years ago, I didn't know what a module was. So if you're like me and you're like, what the heck's a module? It's a training. We have over 150 different trainings. It covers every department in a staging and design business. And then on top of it, you have support. We meet with our members at least twice a week. Dawn jumps on calls once a month with them. So we literally exist to see you succeed. So don't be shy. Don't feel like you can't reach out. Don't feel like you can't have that phone call with Dawn. That's why we're here. We're here to build you up. We're here to support you and encourage you, because believe you me, I know on the employee side, the stuff is not easy. Dawn knows on the owner side, this stuff isn't easy, but we both know you can be successful, and we're here to help you. So we'll see you next week. Thanks, Dawn, for the great information. Have a great week, guys.